The Minnesota Vikings starting quarterback has been announced ahead of the Cincinnati Bengals game. It is indeed Nick Mullens. And just like last week, when it was announced that it was going to be Josh Dobbs ahead of the Raiders game, both situations, not surprising. You could see it coming a mile away. You could absolutely read the tea leaves. And again, just like last week, I disagree. And no matter what your takes are as far as how you feel about what the Vikings are doing here or there, at the end of the day, we all want to see the Vikings win and eventually hoist the Lombardi Trophy. I do believe that the original plan for Jaren Hall is, listen, 2023, you're going to be the QB3. You're going to sit, learn, and develop. You're not going to get any live reps outside of the preseason. Kirk Cousins, he's going to be the starter. Nick Mullens, he's going to be the backup. And if anything, if we decide not to bring Kirk Cousins back in 2024, all the learning and developing you did in 23 will put you in the mix for the starting job next season. I do believe that was the original plan. Otherwise, why waste a draft pick on Jaren Hall in the first place? For an emergency quarterback, hell, you could have just signed Sean Mannion to the active roster and have him be the third quarterback. But things change. Kirk Cousins, he gets hurt, out for the year. And that game against Atlanta, when Jaren Hall was announced as the starter, Nick Mullens, he was on IR. They traded for Josh Dobbs as well. Hall, 2 drives. The second drive looked really good, but he gets hurt and knocked out for the game. In comes Josh Dobbs. And after the New Orleans game, taking into account the Falcons and the Saints game, his performances there, I said, you know what, Dobbs, he has earned the QB1 job until he hasn't. He has to absolutely screw it up before you say, okay, we need to make a change here. And I thought after the Chicago game, that's when a change needed to be made for a new starter against the Raiders. KOC decided, no, we're gonna leave well enough alone. Josh Dobbs, he's still gonna be our guy, and he witnessed carnage for 3 quarters before finally putting in Nick Mullens. And let's break down what Nick Mullens did last Sunday. Nick Mullens came into the game, taking over for the starter who couldn't get the job done, led a drive that resulted in 3 points, turned out to be the game-winning drive to secure a Vikings victory. Doing all of that at a moment's notice. Sounds like a good backup quarterback to me. I'm just trying to understand, and this is the last time I'm going to drive this point home. Everyone knows I've been pushing the Jaren Hall bandwagon, but this idea that we are trying to secure a playoff spot so we can't afford to try to find out what this rookie can or cannot do. Right now we have the 6th seed, a couple of 6 and 7 teams behind us. We need experience. That is what is going to give us the best chance to get into the playoffs. Experience. Well, okay, that's why we're going with Nick Mullens. Okay, fine. We use that same logic with Josh Dobbs. Experience. For his career, 21 scores and 22 turnovers. The last 3 games, he was an absolute disaster. 1-2 record. Trying to secure a playoff spot. Nick Mullens, in his career, 27 scores, 29 turnovers in San Francisco. The 2 years he played there, by the way, having the 13th and 5th ranked defenses, 25 scores, 28 turnovers, a 5-11 record. That gives you the best chance to secure a playoff spot? Explain this to me, this bar that's been set, this final boss level that Nick Mullens has created, before that Josh Dobbs has created, that is evidently unattainable for Jaren Hall. I would argue, worst case, Jaren Hall is exactly what we will get from Nick Mullens and have gotten from Josh Dobbs. Turn the ball over, can't really move the ball down the field, having to rely on the defense to keep the game close. best case scenario, he's better than them and actually gives this team the best chance to win and secure a playoff spot. Explain to me this high bar that's been set that Jaren Hall just cannot reach. All right, he gets out there and he fails. He looks bad. Josh Dobbs was bad. And I tell you what, man, having to rely on Nick Mullens for 4 games, trying to ensure a playoff berth, it's not going to be great. So explain that to me. You can't. I mean, we can say experience all we want to, but that's politics, man. I hate politics. I hate politics in politics, but I especially hate politics outside of politics. Experience.